the more you're focused on something in a negative way, the more your subconscious is going to seek out those things. So if you're constantly walking around saying men are terrible, men are assholes, all men are going to break my heart or hurt me in some way, you're going to attract that into your life. So your subconscious and your brain can be like, see, told you, we're right. I get messages about that all the time of people that read the book. Okay, so if you keep attracting narcissists or people that are cheating on you, that sucks and that's horrible and you don't deserve that. But if there's a pattern, you're creating that. There is something within you that you need to heal before you can attract something different.
Man, have you ever had one of those moments in life where everything just seems to crash, where everything just seems to be flipped on its head, like where life says literally, "This is it. I'm flipping the whole damn table on you." I mean, one minute you're in love, everything's lining up, and the next day it's gone. Well, today's guest, Gabrielle Stone, found herself there. She was heartbroken, pissed off, and instead of sitting in it, she grabbed her backpack and took off around the world. And what she found wasn't just new places, but herself. Gabrielle is the best-selling author of Eat, Pray, FML, but today we're going to go deeper than the story that everybody knows. We're talking about how your subconscious is quietly scripting your life, the people that you are attracted to, the chaos you repeat, and the lessons that the universe keeps trying to tell you. This one's pretty raw, it's funny, and a reminder that sometimes the craziest detours in life is exactly what you need. Without further ado, here is Gabrielle Stone. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Your Superior Self. Today, I'm with one of my faves, Gabrielle Stone. Thank you so much for taking the time.
You're so welcome. I love that I'm a fave. I will put that on my resume.
Returning champion for sure. It's been a while. It's been a minute since we connected. Like, where are you at right now? How are you sitting in this world, this reality?
It's been a long minute. And it is true what they say, the days are long, but the years fly by, because I feel like I blinked and I'm an entirely different person.
Hmm.
I became a mom. My son will be 2 this summer, which is wild. I moved homes since the last time we spoke. It's been such an interesting journey, which I'm sure you can relate to, integrating my career, which I have such a love and a passion for, and this child that is like watching my heart run around independently from my body, and splitting the time and dealing with the mom guilt that comes, and really just like finding my footing in this new self that I'm now existing as.
Hmm. The expansion of self, I think, is a tough process. I think we go through so many different transformations throughout life. Like I look back 10 years ago, and I totally don't recognize that person. Like our interests are totally different. I'm a father of 3, and the podcast has transformed in so many different ways. And I listened to past episodes, and I'm like, holy shit! Like I know exactly what I was studying then. I know exactly what I was into, and it's totally transformed. And it's
Mhm.
more so going inward and diving into what it is that, searching for that all aspects of self that I basically cut myself off from, just from, the model of reality that I live in. And the one thing that I noticed that you're doing a lot more of is retreats.
Mhm.
And I've I've been on a couple of men's retreats, and I can't put into words the power of those, like the transformation that takes place, the community, the brotherhood, camaraderie, the container in itself, like how it just creates this transformation. I can't even put it into words. Like what got you started in that?
So I have this whole amazing community of women, but I also have male readers that have read my book, once they get past the fact that there's a chick drinking wine on the cover. Um, and it's really, the messages of the book are heartbreak and grief, and the fact that that's universal, and how we get through that, and how we can be so radically bold to rediscover that self-love. Um, and that's going to resonate with anyone who's on any type of healing journey. And from the book stemmed the podcast, which I ended in December, although I still release stuff on my Patreon subscription. But there was 4 years of episodes worth on there. And I just had this community of people that were so affected by the work I had put out and were like so desperate to have that experience in their real life. And a company offered me this opportunity to basically pick a destination I wanted to go to and go travel with my readers. And I was like, I don't know, like in this economy, are people going to like, that's a bold move to just be like, screw it, I'm going to go across the world. And sometimes people are going for the first time to meet a group of strangers and just hope it goes well. Um, and I've done 5 of the trips now. I have 3 booked for 2026. And it's every time I'm expecting there to be like, oh, there has to be someone I'm not going to like or someone that doesn't vibe. And the women that have shown up for these trips have been so powerful. It's yes, it's technically considered work for me. As you know, as a father, anytime you're away from your kid, there's got to be some type of monetary gain
Sure.
for that. But the soul fulfillment I have gotten from seeing these women come together and have these experiences, some who are traveling out of the country for the first time, many who are solo traveling for the first time. And whenever we go and do these trips, we sit down at the welcome dinner and we go around one by one and say, like, how we found the book, how, you became an FMLer. And every single time, everyone is full tears, like halfway through.
Mm.
And just the stories that you hear of what people have been through, the things that people have overcome, the way that the books found them at the perfect time and have helped them on their healing journey. It just so far beyond makes everything I went through worth it, but really it allows people to connect and see themselves in other people and finally feel seen for their trauma. And there's something that is so special in that you just like, I'm sure you've experienced on the men's retreats that you've done, that you just can't put into words when you're sitting with people and you can cry and they just see you. And it's like this instant bond. And the trips have created friendships that'll last till the end of their lives. And it's so
Mm.
special.
Are you facilitating any of that, or do you bring somebody in?
So the company does like sets up the trips. I just decide where I want to go and tell my readers where I'm going. And then there's like a limited amount of spots and it's first come, first serve. And when they sell out, they sell out. I literally have to do nothing other than show up and then connect with everybody, which is why I was so okay to do it because I'm so type A. Trying to organize all that myself, I would drive myself absolutely crazy. It's so much work. But the full itinerary is planned by the company. We really just show up and travel and have an experience. And I try on each trip to bring a guest that's somehow related in the FML world, which has been really fun for them. It's been I started it as like, okay, this is a great extra source of income and it'll allow me to travel and like so cool that I get to meet readers. And it's turned into something that's so much more soul fulfilling than I ever imagined.
Mm. Is there spiritual work associated with that, right? Like, it's not just a bunch, like a sleepover, right? Well, that could be fun too, but like, is there any like, is there any like spiritual, like
um,
work that's associated with that?
so my mom is a healer. Like she does, as you know, private sessions with people all over the world every day. I do not consider myself a professional in any way, shape, or form. I am a human who has been through some shit and has made a career off of sharing that shit, good, bad, ugly, messy at times, and continue to just be honest and share my own experiences. And if that is going to help heal someone, amazing. Um, but they're not retreats where you come to further your spirituality or
Mhm.
healing work or heal in that sense. It's healing in the way of creating these bonds and these friendships with people that have been through similar things, being able to fulfill what travel does for people's soul, that people don't often get to experience because of fear or different limitations that we put on ourselves. But the what ends up happening in those conversations, around the dinner table and the itinerary things that get put together on these trips is so healing in the individual sense. So the messages I get after these trips are really similar to the messages that I get from people when they finish reading the book. It
Mm.
feels like they've gone on this individual spiritual journey and picked up all these lessons in a very just living your life natural way, which I think is hard to get unless you're doing very specific things.
What are you seeing as a commonality, right? Like people are coming to this for many different reasons, but is there a common thread to why they're coming to your specific retreat, and what is it that they unconsciously are looking for?
I think at first, this sounds so weird to say because I'm saying it, but they feel like they're my best friend after reading the book, which is how the book is written, because
Mhm.
it's so raw and so authentic. You
I
get
felt that way. I felt like we were best friends, or
We
maybe,
totally are.
yeah.
Um, and I think that there's a piece of them that's like, I wanna go travel with Gabrielle, of course, because I'm so fun. And, but I think there's also a piece of them that they read the book and they're like, "Oh, she did this awesome solo adventure trip and it totally transformed her life. I want to do that." And a lot of people don't want to just get on a plane to a foreign country and be like, "I'm going to stay in a hostel. Who knows where I could end up next?" That's like kind of
Sure.
scary to some.
Mhm.
So there's a little bit more of a comfortability being like, "Okay, I'm going to take this chance and go to a foreign country to meet 20 other women who have been through some similar thing that I've gone through." It feels like it's a baby step to what I did in the book. But I think they're all looking for connection, for friendships, for healing in those friendships. There's something that I've learned recently. Um, I don't know if this has been coming up for you, but the universe has been removing people from my life to it's been so clear about like, these people are not supposed to be at the table for this next chapter. Are you going to let them go and go down the path you've been trying to go down? Or are you going to stay stuck here because these people can't come with you? And
Mhm.
sometimes that's a really hard pill to swallow. I think a lot of times we desperately want to hold on to the oldest friends that we have and the people that we might have outgrown or the people that don't align with our highest purpose now because it's like, oh, that's my history. And like they know so many years and like, but there has been so much healing, hope, fulfillment in the adult friendships that I've had, the newer people that have come into my life. Um, and I feel like these trips, that's what people are looking for. They're looking for the new connections that are really going to mean something, the people that are going to support them from afar, the community aspect of it, and to escape. I feel like everybody just needs to escape like our crazy ass world sometimes. It's been a lot lately.
Oh, I 100% agree. I think, I just did a sweat lodge ceremony, with
Yeah,
some
my husband's
friends.
do those all the time.
That's my first one, and it's based off the Lakota tradition, and I didn't know it had so much meaning behind the steps and the procedures. I mean, there's so much symbolism in it that just, like, hits for me, and, like, because you get lost in the sauce in everyday life, you're basically, you're an actress, the script, right? You read the script, you
Mhm.
do the script, you are that player, and I feel like sometimes we read the script, be the script, and are the actor or actress in our everyday lives, like, every day, and it takes something like going on a retreat to get you outside off the
Mhm.
stage, get you backstage, and you're like, "Oh, shit, that's who I am." Like, I remember who I am now, and so, I can totally get that energy reset that I need so much, and different perspective, and gain friendships and build more community. And then it's time to get back home and go back to being that player. And I think
Yeah.
the reintegration part is tough for me anyway, because it's like you have all this energy. You just connected yourself with some high vibe and people. And now it's to go back into the wild and go back into the matrix, like, have you found yourself hitting gravity when you go back out into your everyday life?
Yes. It's different for me because I'm coming home to my kids. So there's like that, motherly, oh my God, I can't wait to get back to my family. But there is no deeper like dip into depression than when you come home from being out of the country, because it just like you just realize like, oh, there's such a giant world outside of my bubble. And the bubble's not bad. You like your bubble's home base, your bubble you can create to be what you want it to be. But man, getting into a different landscape with different people, it's the quickest way to really zoom out in life and be like, oh, like the minutia things that I have been worrying about in my day-to-day life, are they really that fucking important?
Hmm.
Like, are my problems really that big? And it's so invaluable to start getting that perspective. But yeah, the drop off when you come back, like whenever we do these trips, I put everybody in a group chat. Those chats don't ever stop. It's
Hmm.
just constant day in, day out, which is great. I love it because that means the people that made those connections, like they last and they're real and they're special and important. But yeah, I think there is definitely, you come back to that reality and you're like, okay, but that's why people fall in love with travel. They say
Sure.
like you're going to get bit by the travel bug, so be careful.
Well, what do you think it is? I mean, getting outside of your, I guess, modernity, the world that you have created, and then stepping into something totally new, the unknowable, and having that experience, I guess, is like, you're just connecting with a different vibe. But what is travel collectively for yourself? Like, how or what has that basically unfolded for you as far as like this reality? Like this. How have you been able to take your experiences, your trips, your lessons learned, and apply it to the spiritual lens and your understanding of what this reality is?
That's such a great question. One of the biggest things that I took away from my Europe trip in 2017, which I've continued to see it on every travel I've done, is that when you meet people when you're traveling, especially when you're solo traveling, but likewise on trips like these, you have such little time together that nobody cares enough to put that facade on. So normally, like when you meet someone in your town or in a business sense or at a work sense or even like a family friend, there's the way that they present. Or like if you're on a first date, like there's a mask that's up, there's the best version of themselves. There's something about travel that when you meet people, nobody gives a shit to put that up.
Mhm.
Like, because you're meeting so quickly and you're like, okay, do I actually want to like have a connection and vibe with this person? So that mask is dropped. And that's why when you meet people when you're traveling, there's such like an instantaneous, like, oh my God, we're going to be best friends for life. Whether that happens and, holds when you go back home or not, that connection feels so strong because you're showing up as your authentic self. And that is a lesson that I have taken back into my real life. So I had this really big meeting yesterday for this project that I've been working really hard on. And it like all culminated to like this first really big step of a meeting. And it was like a big level deal. Sorry to be so ominous. um, and I walked in and I so consciously was like, I'm just gonna fucking be myself. I'm not gonna put on what anybody might want to see or adapt to like please anybody. I'm just gonna go in and be my powerful self. And I walked out of that meeting being like, I wouldn't have said anything different. And the person that was with me looked at me and was like, you just fucking nailed that. And it was because it was so interesting. I saw this video the day before of Florence Pugh, who's an incredible actress that I love, saying there is a switch that happens when you are standing in your power and your authenticity and you stop people pleasing.
Mm,
And it's a dangerous place for other people because you are now like very locked in, and you will stop people pleasing and people will stop being pleased, and that is okay.
mm,
And the people that fall off because they were here for the people pleasing are not supposed to be there. And you are now like on the right trajectory. Have you been experiencing this recently? Because when I put out a post on my Instagram about like different friendships falling off and feeling like there were people that had like warped perceptions of me that like I didn't feel was authentic to me, the response I got to that was overwhelming. I was like, I don't know if something astrologically is happening, but like people were like, me too. People are flying out of my life left and right.
Oh yeah, for sure, but I interpret it differently just because of the wounds that I have. Like, so
Mhm.
people are like, I interpret that as rejection, almost like
Mm,
silence for whatever reason. As a man, like when for I don't know if it's a commonality amongst all men. I just think that, you know, growing up as a man in this world, and if somebody doesn't like what I've said, or if I text and I call and, you know, I take that as, "Oh, well, you're an idiot. You're dumb. You did something, you screwed that up, right? And now they're
mm,
rejecting you. You're not good enough, blah, blah, blah." All the voices that play
mm,
in my mind because I'm human. But then when I dive into the inner world of like trying to understand and dissect some of the effects of this
mhm.
change, of this transformation, what I get back is like, it's essentially I'm protecting myself from, you know, either getting into a bad deal or getting into a bad project that isn't right for me, or all the things. Like, it's all ultimately self-protection against people that I shouldn't be aligning with, right? Like,
Yeah.
you stay this path, you walk this path. But the the mortal me, the guy that's walking in this, you know, this world as the avatar, interprets it as rejection. I don't know if you have that similar experience. Like, I'll call guys and buddies and be like, "Hey man, what's on your heart? You know, like, how are you doing?" You know, just complete silence, right? And I'm like, "Oh, you idiot! Why'd you say that? Like, why'd you even text this dude, right?"
Oh
But
my God, no. I wish more men and people in general were able to do that because my girlfriends do that with me all the time and it's always really appreciated. There's actually this trend that's going around on TikTok right now that's like the guys calling their friends just to say goodnight. And
I just heard about that today. Yeah.
yeah, and all their reactions are like, what the fuck? What do you mean you're
See,
just calling
yep,
me to say goodnight?
yep.
Why? Why? Like, why can't we just be like, love you, man? Like, that's so great.
You should
But
see the
like,
guys when I say, "Bro, I love you," and it's like they're glitching out. They're like, What do you? I can't even tell you I love you, right? Like, I can't. The guys can't say it. I just think it's a program. It's just like we are not like we are
yeah,
just so one sided when it comes to the heart, like, or just masculinity, like love
right.
looks like this. Like, what is really even love, really, right? Like, what is the
Mhm.
word? I think it's this because I've learned it in the movies. I've learned it, you know, social media. Like, this is what it looks like. Disney has told me it's like, you know, I got to get a
Right.
princess, I got to
Right.
slay the dragons, I got to be the badass on a horse. When in actuality, man, it's like my idea and definition of self love is like, love yourself first, right?
Mhm.
Like, go in first. That castle is right here, bro. Like, you need to,
Yeah.
like, you know, stop looking outside for the answer.
Yeah. I have such intention, you know, in raising my son to not be programmed that way. And I'm thankful that I found a partner who is raising him with me, like my husband, his dad, that is emotionally involved and in tune and sensitive in that way. He's very much like you in the sense that he can say I love you and like he'll hug, you know, his guy friends way too tight
Sure.
because he knows what it's like to not see people again, and to not express that. And what you were saying earlier about the rejection, you know, all that kept ringing in my head is what they always say about rejection is protection. If there is something where you're like bummed about not getting the job, there's a reason why that didn't work out because something better is coming. But you have to know that. Like you have to be delusional about that, and not get caught up on the rejection in the moment. It's about like, okay, this is realigning me to be more in tune or on a better path or in the easiest path for me to get to where I ultimately want to be going.
Mm, that's powerful. Yeah, I'm curious, because your husband seems to be tapped into that, I don't wanna say sacred masculine, but, like, the healthy masculine. How
Hmm.
does that change you as a woman, right? Like, how does it affect you and your, I don't know, energy or, like, your approach? Like, you're just, you're coming into this space, like, how does it affect you? Because I know what happens when I am in that the traditional masculinity, conventional, where it's just, like, all about, like, all in the head, like, just not showing up the way that I need to be in conversation, not grounded, not giving her, what she needs, that protection. Like, I'm not showing up. So now she's showing up as the masculine, and I'm not really doing that for myself. Like, how does
Yeah.
it affect you?
Similarly, my husband and I rarely fight, but when we do, it's brutal because he is an alpha and I am more of an alpha. So I have been in so many past relationships where I've been stuck in fight or flight mode. So when I'm met with that, I'm going to dig my heels in the traditional masculine way and raise my voice or give you attitude. It's like, okay, bro, let's go. I'm just going to one up you and this is going to be really bad.
Mhm.
And it's never good for either of us. And we never get to where we need to be. I respect him so much more when he shows up with vulnerability, when he shows up with emotion. It makes me see him better. It makes me value him more. Um, it makes me feel more respected. And I'm able to soften and be vulnerable. I think so many times people don't realize that the females have always wanted to be able to be in our femininity, but we've been conditioned and taught by either men that we've been with or society that it's not safe to be that. Like, we have to be tough, we have to be careful, we have to, be brave. And that's toxic too. And I don't think that gets talked enough about. The fact that we're being fed all of these toxic beliefs. Like, anytime I get online, it's like, you know, women talking about, like, I can't walk home alone, or I have to carry something on me, or I'm never at ease. I don't, oh God, and I'll probably get shit for saying this. I don't identify with those feelings. I know so many women do, and it's so freaking valid, but I don't view myself in that space, and I don't allow myself to exist in that space. And maybe that's delusional, and maybe that's like not, you know, being as like on edge as I should be. I don't know. But I just have never attracted those situations into my life. And I think that at some point, the more you're focused on something in a negative way, the more your subconscious is going to seek out those things. So if you're constantly
Mm.
walking around saying men are terrible, men are assholes, all men are going to break my heart or hurt me in some way, whether those thoughts are valid from the experiences you've been through or not, you're going to attract that into your life. So your subconscious and your brain can be like, see, told you, we're right. We're safe. We've got you. We know.
Mhm.
Um, and I get messages about that all the time of people that read the book. And it's like, okay, so if you keep attracting narcissists or people that are cheating on you, that sucks and that's horrible and you don't deserve that. But if there's a pattern, you're creating that. There is something within you that you need to heal before you can attract something different. Like, that was my blueprint in life, was like attracting people that would abandon me. So my brain would be like, see, we knew we were going to be abandoned. We're right. We've got it. And like, who wants that? You have to reprogram that and decide you want to create something different to create the relationship where you're never going to be abandoned, to create the friendships where you're never going to be abandoned. But you have to be able to take responsibility that it's coming somewhere from within you if there is a pattern in your life, and like decide to change that.
What was that moment for you? Like, what was the catalyst that helped you shine light on that?
It was realizing that I was going on my Europe trip by myself. So for those that have no idea who I am or don't know anything about the book, I was married for almost 2 years, found out my husband was having an affair with a 19-year-old for 6 months, filed for divorce, left shortly after that, met a man, fell madly in love with each other, had this whirlwind romance. He convinced me to go on a month-long trip to Italy with him. 48 hours before we were getting on the plane, he told me he needed to go by himself, broke up with me, devastated me like my ex-husband never could have done. And I decided to take the trip solo, and I ended up doing 6 countries over the span of the month, and I wrote my book about it. Changed my career, changed my life, like was the catalyst of everything that I needed to do. But when I looked back on that from a spiritual standpoint, I lost my dad when I was 6, pretty traumatically, walked in and found him dead on the floor from a heart attack. And that 6-year-old little girl in that moment was like, "Oh, when I love someone, they die." That
Hmm.
was the belief that I carried. And the less literal version of that one is when I love someone, they will abandon me. Um, Lost my high school sweetheart in a car accident when I was 18. Same belief. When I love someone, they die. When I love someone, they abandon me. So my brain was walking around the world, my subconscious, going, okay, next person that comes in, they're obviously going to abandon me in some way. So I attracted my ex-husband who abandoned me in one of the most heinous ways possible. And the universe was like, cool, Gabrielle, are we ready to go fix this? And I was like, no, I'm going to take door number 2 over here. Thanks, though. And I attracted the guy who quite literally abandoned me 2 days before we were getting on a plane. Like, it's almost comical if you look at it in a literal sense. And the universe was like, okay, are we ready now to go be alone finally and heal this? And it wasn't until I did that Europe trip and I did all the healing that came along with it, and I really started to dig in to the subconscious beliefs and what was at the core that had been running my system for so long, then I was finally able to attract someone like my husband who would prove all of those false beliefs wrong. And it was recognizing the pattern and saying, okay, this is a pattern in my life. They're not doing this to me. There is something within me that has brought all of these people to my life to be a mirror. Am I going to look into it and decide to like change it so I can bring in stuff that I actually want? Or am I going to keep repeating this freaking pattern? And it was my choice.
Mm, I love that. It's funny because circling back to the point that you made about people come to your retreats because they feel like they're your best friend. Like, do they ever expect you to be in that suffering still? Like when they see you happy with with your 2 children, I think you said you had 2, right? Like you had your baby
Yeah,
boy
baby and a stepdaughter. Yeah.
and then the dogs and the husband. Like when they see that life, that aspect, like does it shock them? They're like, oh well, that's not Gabrielle. Like she's supposed to be in her feels.
That's a really interesting question. No. Because I think the second book um, really ends with the similar kind of endpoint to where I've continued to be at. So they know the trajectory and they've gone through like the muck of the healing and like the chaoticness of the second book, but they know where that ended. Um, but I also am sometimes too open on what I share either with, my people on social media or on the Patreon subscription, which is like where I do the podcast now. Like this last week, we released this 2-part episode, and my husband's doing this kind of like season with me. And it's really personal stuff about like those friendships that have been kind of like removed from my life. And there was a moment I was talking to my girlfriend and I was like, is this like in bad taste to speak about and share about? And she looked at me and was like, you haven't, no one else is exempt from this. Everyone in your life knows that like what you do to help people is talk about your experiences and share your experiences. Like your ex-husband wasn't exempt. Your current husband isn't exempt. Like, why would a friend be exempt from that? And it was such a good reminder that in order for me to make a difference in the people's lives that follow me, I have to just always be authentic.
Mm.
and share what I've been through. And that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. The episodes that I have had the most response to in the history of my podcast are the ones where I didn't want to record them. I sat down and I cried halfway through them. Like, and I was just like, I don't even know what I'm talking about, but this is what's going on right now. And the amount of people that feel seen in those, and resonate with the lessons that come from those, um, you have to be able to put that foot forward. And it's a weird balancing act, to show up authentic and put yourself out there, because the internet can be a ruthless
Mhm.
place and a judgmental place. And I feel very fortunate that the community that I have built and that has found me, um, like really holds my heart and respects my boundaries and supports me in a really special way. And I'm really thankful for that.
Mm. Yeah, that's the container, right? And, they're just being a mirror, I think. I think
Mhm.
for me, um, it's just something about the container. I think I've tried to understand the reasoning behind it from, like, a conceptual point. The only thing I've been able to find is, like, entrainment, which is in quantum physics, where it's like if you put 2 clocks up on the wall, like, they'll start ticking in the same sequence.
Mhm.
Like, if you have a house full of women, right? Like, eventually they'll all, like, that time in the month, they'll align, right?
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
so weird. It's like a phenomenon. I don't even know why it is, but it's like something about getting in strong spaces and holding spaces that everyone starts to vibe. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to, like, a Joe Dispenza retreat,
No,
or
but I've heard.
yeah. So, like, all that meditation, the music, all the buildup, and then the healing that takes place within 7 days, it's like they're all kind of they're in training, they're coupling up to each other, they're synchronizing, and they're
Yeah.
coupling up to some type of maybe the universe, and they're directing that energy inward and outward to other people, and
Mhm.
there's a ton of healing and insight that takes place.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that type of experience in community?
I think I do on every one of these trips that I do. Um, there and it's not it's how do I explain it? It's
It's
the
tough. It's tough to
for me
explain.
it is. For me, it's the validation of seeing these women, and I'm just saying women because we haven't done a co-ed trip yet, although I have been asked a few different times. Um, but it's seeing the feeling the validation of seeing these women change. Like they changed on the trip, and I see that in such a short amount of time. They've changed from how they were before they read the book to after, and the stories they tell. Um, I mean, the stories, like I could write an entire book on like some of my readers' journeys. Like they're
Sure.
wild. And I look at them like, dude, you should
Give
be
me
writing
give me one story. One story.
a book. Okay. Uh, I'm like, I hope this is okay that
Sure.
I'm telling about them.
We'll
But
we'll we'll
no,
change the names.
yeah. So there are these two women, and one of them came on the trip we did to Tulum, and we go around the table, and she was the last one to go. And she, like, butch lesbian, like total vibe. And she like opens her mouth to start talking, and she looks at me, she's like, fuck you, Gabrielle, because she's already crying. And she proceeds to tell this insane story about she knew she was gay when she was like 7. Like there were never men in the picture. And in college, she was like drinking a lot, not doing super well, like flunking out. And this girl she was with broke up with her. She was like miserable, went to a party, got drunk, and had sex with a dude for the first time. And of course, got pregnant.
Wow.
The one time.
The one time.
One time. And she ends up deciding to keep the baby, changes her entire life around, graduates with a 4.0, goes to grad school after the baby's born, completely turns her life around, and ends up meeting this woman. They fall in love with each other, get married, have a second kid via like she carries it, but like with a
Mhm.
donor. Totally happy and in love. And we're like sitting there and I'm like waiting for the ball to drop. I'm like, okay. And she's like, and then my wife cheated on me.
Oh.
And we're like, oh. And of course, everyone there is like, fuck her. And she's like, no, no, no. Here's the thing. We're trying to work through it right now. We're in therapy. She's starting to like do the work. I've put up boundaries, like blah, 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 blah. And basically, by the end of that trip that she was on, she called her wife in tears and was like, I feel like a different person. I want us to be the 5% that makes it through
Mhm.
this. And I want to do this with you. She then sent her wife on the Columbia trip solo with me. So we're going around the table at Columbia, and she's the last one to go, fully in tears. And she's like, I was so hesitant to read either of your books because I'm the bad guy in the situation. And I thought I was just going to feel guilt reading everything about this. And instead, I felt so seen and I got so much out of it and I started healing. She's like, and then I got your journal and I started doing the work and going to therapy. And I knew I wanted to save my marriage. And she was like, when my wife went to the Tulum trip, we thought we were going to be done. And it wasn't until the end of that trip when I got that call and whatever happened with her on that trip made her realize she wanted to work on our relationship and give me a second chance. She was like, I literally owe everything to you and these trips. And now they're both coming with me to July Croatia trip.
Wow. That
But
is
they're one of my
wow.
favorite. They're one of my favorite stories, and I'm like, you guys could write a movie. This is insane.
That is so powerful. Like, how many bad guys come to your retreats, you know? When I say bad guys, like the ones that were the
Yeah.
reason.
Um, that's such an interesting question. I think we've all been the bad guy in our stories in one time or another. I mean, in high school, like I wrecked some boys' hearts, because you're young and you're dumb and it's, you don't really know what's going on at that time. So I think we've all been the bad guy in some scenario, but I would say probably like 3 or 4 when we're having those moments are like, I'm the one that cheated. I feel like the guilt, like I'm on that boat. But
Mm.
some
Well, lem
people, it's not everybody is there from like a cheating or not cheating or divorce or heartbreak. There are people that are there because they lost someone in their life and they're trying to. A lot of people identify with the guy that broke up with me before Europe because he was grieving the loss of his brother. There's many different, again, like grief and
sure.
the healing of it is so universal and it's so multifaceted. And so there are people, their stories they tell are about like losing a parent and then having to like be a solo parent to the kids that are now here. Like the stories are wide. It's not all just, did you get cheated on by
Sure.
any means?
This may be a dumb question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Like, have you gained any insight on why people cheat in the beginning? Like, or in the first place? Why do they do it?
I will always feel, and from this is from my experience, from the stories that I've heard, that people cheat because they have a void within themselves or an insecurity within themselves that they're trying to fill in some capacity. I don't ever think it's physical of like, oh, I'm not getting enough sex at home. It's like, well, have you asked for more? I think it's some egotistical cup they're trying to fill, some type of void or insecurity within themselves, um, that they are wanting to patch. And you can't patch any of those things with outside sources. You have to do that from within. I mean, J-Lo got cheated on multiple times. Beyonce's been cheated on. Like, join the list of the elite, most gorgeous people in the world. Like, unfortunately, you're not special. It's
Sure.
within them. It's within the person that is choosing to do that. And do people make mistakes? Yeah. And are people able to learn from those mistakes and heal? 100%. That doesn't mean you have to accept that. There's no part of me that was ever going to repair that marriage, even if he would have wanted to, after I found out about that. That's a hard boundary for me. Um, but I mean, it's up to the individual if they're going to have the experience and grow from it. So if you're going, that's the difference with like the story that I just told of those two women. Like, she came and was like, I'm going to own this and it's going to be the thing that changed me instead of broke me.
Mm.
And that there's always, I will always applaud people for that. I will never shame people for being the one who cheated. It's like, if you're going to take ownership and responsibility and like do the work to be better, whether that's going to save your marriage or you're still going to end it, like that's the individual purpose of being a human. So like fucking kudos to you.
Yeah, I think the actual cheating is like it's like a drug addict, right? It's like
Mhm.
you're feeling a certain way inside, but you can't really put your finger on it. And it's like going outside of yourself to numb that pain that
Mhm.
you're in. And it's our, I think society has just programmed us to, take the magic pill to get rid of all these things when in actuality, it's like, you just keep layering and layering and layering on the inside. You're not
Yeah.
really getting to the root of the root of the problem. And so, it's through cheating, it's through alcohol, it's through drugs, it's through all the things to numb that feeling that is growing inside of us. And it's not until we inward reflect, really dive into that pain
Mhm.
and that fear of like what is down there, like what is it, right? I can get over
Yeah.
the idea that we're unworthy and I'm not good enough and all these things. It's like when you actually do that work, though, the wife who's not giving you enough sex starts to become the wife who starts giving you sex because like you're changing, like you're doing
Right.
the actual work. Your
Right.
your energy is shifting, and now you're able to sit in this space of uncomfortability and have conversations, like tough freaking conversations with her that you normally weren't, accustomed to, and like
Mhm.
be in the space and be grounded and just hold that space. Again, you're creating a container in which she now feels safe to share. And now you're just kind of bouncing back and forth. And it's not overnight, it's a transition, it's like an evolution. But I think in that way, like you grow so much stronger as a couple.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And I think it's what you're saying about the instant like gratification and the numbingness, that's so valid. And I talk about that a lot in regards to the man that dumped me before the Europe trip. And after writing the book and like getting online, I remember the day I saw a video about love bombing for the first time, and I was like, oh fuck, that's what happened to me. Like, that's what this was. It was like 2 months of just like, oh my god, I love you, I'm obsessed with you, you're the one, you're the person, like I want to be with you all the time. But that happens in two different ways. That happens from a narcissist that's like intentionally like, I am going to love bomb this person to try and get them into my, weird manipulative control. And there's the love bombing that happens with someone who's trying to fill a void within themselves. And that was what I experienced. He had not dealt with the death of his brother. He had pushed that grief down so far and locked it away to try and like just move past it. And whatever feelings he had for me opened up those floodgates. And it was like, oh, she makes me feel less shitty. She makes me not worry about this grief feeling that I have. So like I want to be around her more, more, more. And then eventually you're never going to have that fixed by something outside of yourself. You're still going to have to be the one that does the work to heal it. So eventually the numbing that I was giving stopped working. And it was like, oh, I feel shitty again. This isn't working anymore. Okay, bye. And I was left being like, wait, what the fuck?
Mm.
Hello. Um, and that's such a prime example of going outside of yourself, whether it's for sex, whether it's just to like take your mind off of something, whatever the outside quick fix is, it's only going to last for so long until you are forced to go inward to actually fix the root of the problem.
That's well said. I mean, that's
So just like do it in the first place, like save yourself and everyone else the time and the heartache of it.
sure. I just don't think we have a model for that. Like I
Yeah.
didn't. I come from like a blue collar town that prides itself on high school national football championships or whatever,
Right.
right? Like we grew up in this world where most of the men, and I'm not woe is me here, but our fathers, it's like something about this industrial age where they just all went to the factories and worked shifts, right? And I know you have a different background, um, but not having that father figure there, like there's a disconnect, right? Like,
Mhm.
and what to, like, even as my daughters growing up, I just recently have come to the awareness because of my wife that they're looking at me for how they're going to model what their boyfriends and husbands should look like and do.
Mhm.
And I was like totally unaware of that. I'm like, holy shit. Like every action that I take, everything that I say is a model for them that they're
Mhm.
going to be unconsciously looking for in another man. And I
Mm.
have to straighten my shit up because like I need to start doing the things where I'm respecting my wife more, not just because of the external things, but because they're looking at me as the way. They're
Yeah.
looking at me as the guy. And so I mean, I just think it's the process of evolution. It's like
Mhm.
you don't know until you know, and it's not until you like go inside and shine the light on the unconscious, like what Jung talks about, like the
Mhm.
individuation process, which a lot of us don't know about. We are just so distracted by different external things that we're so busy on like the upgrades of technology, the car, the house, that we don't look for the internal upgrades. We don't even know
Mm.
what that looks like. We don't even take the time to research. Like, you know, AI is exploding because why? Because it does the shit for you. Like we want to do everything but the actual process, the
Right.
pain, like
Right.
until you get comfortable with pain, right? Just get comfortable with it and it will expand you. I promise you. Like I used to be this blue collar worker working different shifts, in no way, shape, or form was I ever thinking about doing a podcast or men's work. And it's just like with running every day, just doing something outside of my comfort zone. I got used to pain. I got used to the discomfort, and it allowed me to sit in more of that, to have conversations with people that I didn't think I was worthy of having them with.
Mhm.
Like reading different books and trying to understand the lexicon and the semantics and how they have a conversation, how they tell stories. Going back to college, I graduated high school in 2001. I'm getting ready to get my undergraduate next semester. It's a
Yeah.
like it's just, I think we just invest too much of our energy in the wrong things.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes it feels too overwhelming when people like, we're if people discover your podcast for the first time or start getting a download where they get pushed towards something that's more spiritual and like unknown to them, it feels too overwhelming and they're too behind to like dive into that, to start doing the work. And you just have to start. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to change overnight. You don't have to, go back to school and like do all these things. Like you can literally just start listening to different podcasts. You can read a book that's, on the subject. It can be little at a time, but if there's any type of a calling to what you hear and what you're listening to, like I urge people to follow that because it will inevitably change your life in the
Sure.
best way. You're a perfect example of that.
I would say perfect, but I will take it. I will say this though, like there's times where I will go and do like talks. I've done a talk at a kindergarten class, my daughter's, and I came in there and I
Oh.
nailed it. And then there's talks where I go to speak in front of like um, different women with regarding psychic medium and podcast work, and I nail it. And then I go to a men's retreat full of um,
Mm.
CEOs, and then I'm like, I don't belong here. right? I don't
Mm,
there's that imposter syndrome. Like, I don't know what I'm talking I don't know I need to go back, I need to go back to work. I need to go back to, go back to my shift job.
mhm.
But it is that saying that is so true. Like, you are the average. Like, you can't change unless you change your environment. There's an evolution that takes place. And the way that you self-talk, the more shit you talk on yourself, the the more that your reality that it creates.
Mhm.
And so until you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, until you go for a walk for a mile, you go for a run for a mile, or you sit in a group of CEOs and have conversations that you're not comfortable having. You don't even know what they're talking about, but you're willing to sit in that energy, that environment, and just hold space. Like, there's a change that takes place. Like, you'll pick up on something. You'll pick up on a
Yeah.
technique. You'll pick up on something so small, and then you
Yeah.
apply it to your life. It's like being a scientist. You just do objective scientific experiments. You just take one variable and you change it. You take one variable and you change it, and then
Mhm.
over time you'll see results. I promise you. I'll get off my stool here or whatever, my little rant, and
No, it's
gather
a
your
good
thoughts.
no, it's a good rant, and I'd like to acknowledge that I understand what you're saying as far as, like, the room full of the CEOs and the men. When I was going into this meeting, my partner on this specific project, called me, and I actually, like, the whole podcast, I was like, "Oh my god, I have to introduce you two because you guys would have the best conversation." He's, like, very awesome, very spiritual, and, like, you guys would just vibe so hard. He called me and he was like, "Who is someone you think that goes into these meetings all the time that you really admire?" And I gave him a name, and he was like, "Great. Do you think she's nervous when she goes in?" And I was like, "Yeah, maybe." And it was like, "Okay, great. Do you think she's excited when she goes in?" Yeah. Okay. Do you think she knows her shit when she's going in? Yeah. Okay. So all of the things that you're feeling, the nervous, the excitement, the knowing all of your shit, that's okay. Go in with that because you're supposed to be here. Everything that you've been doing in your life has created this moment and it's already done. It wouldn't be here if you couldn't handle it. So go in and fucking do it. And I was like,
Mm,
"Oh, right." Like it doesn't matter who the person is on the other end. And you know what? I went in and I was like, there's always that dynamic of like, he's a dude. Is he going to get my story? Like, he literally looked at me in the middle of the meeting, was like, "Did you interview my shrink before you came in to talk to me about this?" Because like the similarities between our stories are insane. And it was confirmation from the universe, source, your creation, whatever you want to call it, that like the right people are always going to be on the other end of it to match your energy. So I was so in alignment with like, I know what I want this to be. I know what the experience I want to create is. I 100% believe that it was my alignment and my energy that created the person that was on the other end of that meeting. And it was the perfect person to receive everything that I was saying and to make me feel comfortable and powerful in that environment. But you have to acknowledge that. You have to be like, I fucking created that. You know what I mean? It wasn't
mhm.
luck. It wasn't like, "Oh, thank God we got this person." It was like, no, all the work you have done, all the alignment that you have created in your life, you created that. And acknowledge that and be like, "Yes, show me how good it can get. More, please."
More, please. Do you talk about that in your groups at all? Like manifestation, like
Oh,
creating
yeah.
reality? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I always like whenever I get on to do a podcast episode, I'm like, "All right, guys, I don't know how woo-woo y'all are and if you're going to hang with me on this one cuz like even like on the main show that I used to do and those all of those episodes are still, up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts under FML Talk. I've had people come on that are mediums. I've had people come on that read soul contracts. So like we've gone to the woo woo
I'm
place.
here for it, Gab. I'm here for it.
I know you are. I know you are. And inevitably, every time people are like, "This is fascinating. I love this. I so believe it." And so it's like you just got to put the shit out there, and like people are gonna take what resonates with them, and if they don't, that's fine. Um, I had one person um come on this trip, and these trips will hold a mirror up to you. And if you are not ready to sit with other people and connect and be vulnerable and share your shit, the other reaction can be like, whoa, I am not healed at all. And the way that that can come out in the conscious brain is maybe you have a bad vibe, maybe you like want to distance yourself, like, and we've had one person where that has happened on one of these trips, and I it really put up a mirror to my people pleasing skills because I wanted to make sure everybody was good and make sure I was taking care of everybody. And it was so clear to me and everybody else on the trip that it was like, oh, this is your shit and you're just projecting on everybody else, and like, Godspeed, but like, you need to go do some work because this is not what these trips are about, the way it was coming out. And I had to like be okay with that. I had to be okay with like being like, I'm not here to give up myself to make you feel better.
Hmm.
And that was a huge lesson for me. So like, I get lessons left and right still, day to day and on these trips specifically. And the lessons that we took away that group trip were different from the other lessons that, they're always different. And I think that's what makes life beautiful, is being able to take a situation that could be perceived as shitty or negative and being like, okay, but where's the lesson? Because it didn't just happen for no reason, because that
Mhm.
would suck. Like, there's got to be a grand lesson in this on some level. And what is it? And how can I apply it to my life? Because I look at life as, you want to just be a detective, and like, how many things can you like pick up and put in your Easter basket that are going to make you stoked and get to a better place?
Oh, 100%. I agree with that 100%. I think I've created this conversation for sure, alongside you, and this has been a beautiful journey. And Gab, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day. I know that you don't do a whole lot of these, and that means the world to me. And it fills my heart that you would actually, say yes, but also spend time with me and share your journey and where you're at. So thank you.
Yeah, dude, I knew it was going to be a worthwhile conversation, so I appreciate you inviting me back on. It's always great to chat with someone who is as evolved as you. I know you're going to be like, "Oh God, not me, no," but yes, you.
Where can people connect? Where can they get all the things?
So both the books are on Amazon. Eat, Pray, FML is the first one. The Ridiculous Misadventures of a Single Girl is the second one. I promise, if you're a male listener, you will still have fun. If you love my voice, you can get them both on audiobooks as well. And the healing journal, that's really great for people that are wanting to like start doing some of the deeper work, is called Fuck Off, I'm Healing. You can get that on Amazon, and everything's on my website at eatprayfml.com. And I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Gabrielle Stone.
I love it. Gab, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me.